Nick Saban is so good at recruiting. He can go out to California with his team and get a commitment at a time when he's not really even recruiting.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime, and thank you so much for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the absolute best, and we wish you a happy new year here shortly. Jimmy, Domani Jackson has committed to the University of Alabama. This is a guy, and maybe I mispronounced his name because I know you've said it differently. I'm going to keep going with Domani.
That's Domani. Domani's right. Domani's right.
Okay. I thought you said it differently last time.
I probably did.
Domani Jackson, 6'1", 190 pounds, 5-star from the 2022 class. So I guess theoretically, he's only going to be here for 1 year, right? I mean, let's get that out of the way. Theoretically, if everything goes the way he wants it.
Right. Yeah. I would guess 2, but possibly 1. Yeah. He would be draft eligible after next season. He's played 2 seasons at Southern Cal, hurt his knee his senior year of high school. So he sort of played his freshman year at USC a little gimpy. He didn't play that much. But this past season, his sophomore season, full-time starter. He played a prominent role at cornerback in all of Southern Cal's games, entered the portal right when the regular season was over. So he did not participate in USC bowl practices or in their bowl game against Louisville.
And again, doesn't bother me at all. I mean, in fact, I'm glad he got to go to it sort of worked out well. Alabama's coming to California. He was already there. He played at Modern Day, the powerhouse that is in California that Alabama has had a lot of luck in or have put in a lot of hard work. Be careful about that luck word from our last podcast. And so, yeah, I think this is a big-time pickup. And look, everybody's saying, hey, this is big, huge for Alabama because they're going to lose both cornerbacks. I continue to hear, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you that there is at least some hope for this. Terrion Arnold I would say, is better than 50-50 to come back. Doesn't mean he's coming back. I'm not announcing Terrion Arnold's coming back. I'm saying that Terrion Arnold has told several people, apparently, he's going to be coming back. Now, something may change between hither and yon, and he may ball out in the playoffs, and they go, hey, you've gone from a late first rounder to top 10. Okay, he's gone. I would totally get it. I would get it if he left now. But I'm saying now if you bring in, you have Trey Amos coming back, who's got another year, who really stepped up in the SEC championship game. Then you bring in Domani Jackson, who has all the accolades, at least from high school. And I think we're all discounting it too much, but we're all kind of saying, your USC stuff, we're not going to really count that against you because they don't play defense, frankly. And so we're not going to hold it against you that you don't have great stats. So he's going to come in, and then if Terrion Arnold were to come back, yeesh, and Caleb Downs, that's a secondary dude.
Yeah, there's some pieces in place. I think it'll be really interesting to see where Domani fits in because, look, the cornerback room is going to be loaded, like we talked about, with Terrion potentially returning, and I think we all assume Kool-Aid will move on. But with Terrion potentially returning, and then you have Trey Amos, who's played really, really well coming off the bench and being sort of Alabama's dime back. You've got those young players at corner like Des Ricks. They're high on. They've been high on Antonio Kite. Jaleel Hurley was a national top 50 player at one point. So the cornerback room feels really loaded. But yet Domani is going to show up, Luke, probably the most toolsy kid in the room. I don't use toolsy much except to describe baseball players, but toolsy is how you describe Domani. Domani is 6'1", which is outstanding length for a cornerback. Not most corners, a little shorter, most elite corners. He's a full 6'1". He weighs 190 pounds. So this is a kid that's actually built to where he could easily get away with playing safety. But he has cornerback skills. He ran the fastest 100-meter time in the history of the state of California for a high school player in the 10.2s. That's virtually Olympic level speed. So you've got crazy speed, ideal length, 190 pounds. There is leaves no doubt as to why Domani was ranked, I think, the number 5 prospect in the country coming out of high school 2 years ago. But it has been a little odd that he didn't exactly light the world on fire at Southern Cal. They struggled on defense as a whole. Domani himself, per the PFF, the Pro Football Focus numbers, I think off the top of my head, I just read this, he was targeted 41 times this season. And of the 41 times he was targeted, he gave up 30 balls, 30 catches. That's a lot. That's a lot. Targeted quite a bit, gave up a lot of catches for a lot of yards, and I think 4 touchdowns. So what Alabama can do, though, is put him in a situation where he's more likely to be successful because Alabama's supporting cast is much better than Southern Cal's. The teaching is through the roof. As a matter of fact, to be honest, Domani's primary position coach is really Nick Saban. I mean, I know T-Rob is the DB coach, but Nick Saban coaches the cornerbacks in practice. So Nick Saban will be really Domani's position coach. I'm sure that's one of the many reasons he's drawn to Alabama again. And our understanding at BOL, Luke, is that once Domani entered the portal and got a call from Alabama, it was over. This is where he wanted to be. There was no second choice. Once Domani went in the portal, it was his hope that he would end up at Alabama, which was his second choice in recruiting. And I think looking back on it, I'm sure if Domani had to do it all over again, he would have signed with Alabama 2 years ago.
I agree with you. And, give me a quarterback that's built like this dude right here that I'm showing you. The only thing the only adjective that comes to mind is rippling. His muscles are rippling off his body. And then there's
like I said.
Let me tell you why the Pro Football Focus thing that you said is interesting. 41 targets, 30 balls given up. That's interesting. But I'm going to tell you in the second segment why I'm not nearly as concerned about that. But I do want to bring up one more potential transfer. Naquil Bertrand. I guess I'm saying that correctly. It sounds like something that is from Lord of the Rings, but Naquil Bertrand is large human being, 6'6", 320 from Texas A&M. He's leaving Texas A&M, only a 3-star out of high school, and really hadn't played. I mean, at least that I can tell. But for whatever reason, this dude seems to be very sought after in the portal.
Yeah, he has impressive practice tape, which is how these kids can get recruited even though they didn't play. Naquil, now he is a huge different story. If Alabama's to sign him out of the portal, it's nothing like the Domani Jackson. It's nothing like LT Overton, Alabama's first portal pickup, both of whom were 5 stars, highly, highly recruited guys that Alabama wanted out of high school and got to know really well, sort of finished in second, for both of those guys out of high school. This kid from A&M, Alabama did not recruit at all out of high school, and they do not know him. He's just a bit of a unicorn in the portal. In this sense, Luke, most kids in the portal that an Alabama could sign or that would want to sign with an Alabama see themselves as immediate starters. Like, hey, Domani expects to come in and start. LT Overton expects to come in and be part of Alabama's first team on the defensive line. I think with this kid, it's a little bit more like you got a second chance in recruiting. I mean, here's a kid, my buddy Chef Rossi, a great poster we have at BOL. Chef Rossi put it best. This is the kid we signed because we missed out on Edwin Favor, the tackle from Atlanta that Alabama wanted to sign at the end that chose Auburn, at the end. Alabama was trying to sign a young tackle they could develop. And you miss on Jordan Seaton in recruiting. You miss on Edwin Favor. Here, Alabama found a guy that's a lot like signing those first two. Young player, high ceiling, needs development. If he's not ready to start right away, that's okay because you have other options like Elijah Pritchett, for instance, who's the projected starter next year at right tackle. If this kid can't beat out Pritchett day one, that's fine because Pritchett's probably got that spot covered. But you can develop this kid. So he's a lot like a replacement for missing out on Edwin Favor or even Jordan Seaton.
That's very interesting. And also, I know that the rules right now are kind of ambiguous, but you also kind of like the fact that you bring him in and he's already transferred once, because I think in the end, that one transfer thing with no sit out is going to end up sticking. And so, he probably won't transfer out if he's unhappy immediately because he'd have to sit out. I mean, I think right now you can do all unlimited transfers or whatever, but I think eventually something will be temporarily. Yeah. So I think that's also a positive. Now that may just be something that's an added bonus, not something they factored in, but a bonus nonetheless. Jimmy, when we come back, I do want to talk to you about one of the reasons, number one, I'm not worried about Domani Jackson. Another reason that we should hate one of our former assistants. But right now, I want to tell you about Gametime. I love Gametime. The Gametime app is so easy to use. A Jimmy could use it. You shouldn't have to worry about when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. And that's the worst part about buying tickets. Look, I'm buying tickets for me and my wife and our 4 children going to the Alabama Liberty game on Saturday. I want to get them through Gametime because I know that's going to be the best deal. I know I'm going to get to see where my seats are, and it's going to be fantastic. And I know I'm going to be guaranteed. That's what is so great about Gametime. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. They got everything. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. They even have job loss protection for you if you were to need something like that. Look, this is so easy. Go download the Gametime app today. You can also do it on your computer, but it's better for me to do it on the app. I just find it just as easy. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Yeah, so Domani Jackson, as you mentioned, he'd given up 31 catches or 30 catches and 41 targets or whatever. And look, he hadn't been on the field much, so he was targeted a lot. I don't know what his percentage to being on the field and targeting was, but it was high. That being said, when you're not coached well, you will do things like this no matter who you are. A good coach can make a great player. A bad coach can make a great player look pretty mediocre, if not bad at times. Case in point. Bill O'Brien. I know I don't like him either. And I'm liking him less and less on a daily basis. And when he left, when he was at Alabama, I probably didn't hate on him as much as a lot of Alabama fans. I didn't. The offense was okay. What I didn't realize was Bryce Young, I think, was making up for a lot of Bill O'Brien problems. And I look back now you see Jahmyr Gibbs at Detroit just kicking chicken. You see Jameson Williams kicking chicken. You see Bryce Young doing his thing. And it feels like this Alabama team, how do we lose a game? I know we only lost a couple of games by a couple of points. I get all that. I understand what you're saying. I understand. And we had some people hurt. But then on top of it all, Jimmy, Jalen Milroe yesterday in a press conference said, yeah, Bill O'Brien told me I probably need to play something else. And apparently didn't even give him a suggestion like, yeah, we want to play you at tight end. He was like, I don't know what you need to play, but it's not quarterback. Essentially, not verbatim, but essentially. And it really adds to the myth of how bad Bill O'Brien was. It's probably not as bad as we're all going to remember because we're always going to remember things worse than they were or better than they were. And but I'm going to tell you something. Bill O'Brien's really bothering me right now. And look, here's the other thing. I know that there have been a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and I have no problem saying me at one time thinking, man, maybe Jalen Milroe does need to play something else. Maybe he does. I'll have no problem saying, boy, did I screw that up. I'm also the genius. And when Alabama played Arkansas in, I think, 2013, I think it was 2013 at home, right before Derrick Henry went 80 yards for a touchdown late in garbage time, I turned to somebody and said, we're going to turn him into a linebacker, right? Next thing you know, he goes 80 yards for a touchdown. But of course he goes on to win the Heisman. So I'm not the best judge of all this. Bill O'Brien should be able to see more than this. And I'm just telling you right now, the way we all have grown to love Jalen Milroe, us included, and the fact that, I have no problem saying I doubted Jalen Milroe. I completely doubted him. I'm sorry I doubted him. I was wrong. His story is fantastic. The more you hear him talk, the more you love him and want to put your arms around him. And now that I love him this much, it makes me dislike Bill O'Brien even more.
Well, no doubt Jalen has used those comments that Bill O'Brien made to him as fuel. Sort of reminds me a little bit of Michael Jordan not making the high school team, in the ninth grade, and Tom Brady being drafted 199th in the draft. Those things fueled those guys all the way to the end of their careers, not the beginning of their career. They're still upset and using that as fuel to be great into their 40s. I mean, and Milroe's response to what Coach O'Brien said has obviously fueled him to this day. I thought there was an edge to what Jalen was saying. I mean, he's still hurt. He's still mad about this, and it has served him extremely well, and is now serving Alabama extremely well because of saying. Now, in terms of the actual quote, what I would like is some additional context, because, hey, there's a lot of Alabama fans mad about what Bill O'Brien said when they, in fact, have said the same things, that maybe Milroe's not a quarterback. And in fact, I'm wondering if the context may have been more like what many, many, many fans were saying in 2021 and 2022, is that while Bryce Young was the quarterback, we were wasting a 6'2", 220-pound athlete that runs a 4.4 40 that's carrying a clipboard on the sidelines, when he could be perhaps one of the best playmakers on the field on offense, while Bryce was serving as the starting quarterback. I'm curious as to whether that was the context, because I know from sources close to the program, Bill O'Brien actually bragged on Milroe as a quarterback quite a bit, even comparing him to Deshaun Watson. So those sort of things don't make a lot of sense to me combined together. So I would like some context as to what Milroe's saying. But the big thing here is that it obviously affected Milroe in a way that served as fuel for him, because he's still clearly upset. He did not take it as a compliment about his athleticism. Clearly not. Milroe took it to where he was very offended by what O'Brien said. And I don't blame him at all. I'm just a witness to the greatness that we see with Jalen Milroe. And hey, whatever it's taken to fuel him to get to this point, it's just an amazing. Jalen Milroe is one of the most amazing stories, I think, in the Saban era. And I'm just so happy for him that he gets to prove everyone wrong, and even sells a shirt about how he, as much as Lank is about the Alabama team, it's really about Jalen Milroe personally. And it's just been an incredible story.
Yeah. And you know what it reminded me of a little bit? Did you ever see the movie School Ties with Brendan Fraser and Matt Damon?
Sure did. Yes.
At the end of the movie, if you don't know, it's a movie about a private school like in the Northeast, and Brendan Fraser is a superstar running back who's Jewish, and the private school, this is like set in the 50s or something, and they tried to hide his religion because he wouldn't have been accepted, and people find out about it, and there's a big cheating scandal that doesn't involve him. He gets accused, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, Brendan Fraser, he's absolved of all wrongdoing, and the headmaster basically says, hey, look, we kind of screwed the pooch on this one, and so we're going to allow you to stay in school. Is that good? He said, you know what? I'm going to stay in school because I'm going to use you to get into Harvard the way you use me to win football games. And I feel like that's kind of what Jalen Milroe saying, not necessarily to Alabama, but to people that doubted him, and including Bill O'Brien. Like, I'm going to use Alabama to boost my profile, to boost my brand, and to use all these great resources you guys have. I'm going to use that because you guys need me. And I'm going to use that to be even a better person. I'm going to use all this doubt to even be a better person than you could even possibly imagine. And it is, boy, you hit the nail on the head, Jimmy. This is maybe the best story of the Saban era. the best individual story. It might be. Now, if you wanted to say Javi Arenas, I could buy that because Javi was, nobody thought he'd be a star in Saban's system either. But Javi wasn't recruited by Saban. And Javi was sort of on the, getting on the tail end when Saban got there. So not the tail end necessarily. He played 3 years under Saban, didn't he? But I don't know. I just feel like this is the best. This is the best. This is the best story. I love Milroe more.
Levi Wallace would be up there, by the way.
Levi Wallace would be
Levi Wallace is up there. I think I've even considered putting pen to paper and writing that script myself. Send that off to Hollywood. One of the reasons I have it is I don't think Hollywood would buy it. They wouldn't believe it. With Levi, they wouldn't believe a player not recruited out of high school could walk on at Alabama after being a student for a full semester. By the way, Levi Wallace went to school as like a student, like me and Luke. He was me and Luke for like a semester, and then walked on, then tried out for the football team and was one of the very few that made it, and then becomes a starter and a scholarship player, and then is undrafted, of course, and then of course makes the NFL and becomes a starter and a star player in that league. It's Hollywood would never believe it, and that's why it's another project of mine that would just sit there and gain dust and not make any traction at all.
Isn't it a little amazing that probably two of the more controversial quarterbacks who have gone through the ringer and have been benched at very important times in their careers at Alabama may go down as two of the most beloved ever and hold a ton of records. Jalen Hurts, by the way, just broke the record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a season, and he's got 2 games left. Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And both of them happen to be from Texas.
And Hurts serving, both of them from Houston. Hurts serving as a guidepost, I think, to Milroe too, has been helpful to Milroe. And Milroe mentioned that this week in a media appearance in LA that Jalen Hurts is sort of a hero of his and he considers him a brother. And I think Milroe's very aware that he's fought some of the same battles as Hurts did. And with one to come, because in the spring, fans get obsessed with the shiny new toy every time, and it's going to be Julian Sand in 2024, and he'll be going. It'll prepare yourself for some level of Hurts Tagovailoa again, because that's what it's going to look like. Because the fans, the best player is the one they haven't seen. So
I'm fans, by the way. So Jimmy, we're sort of running short on time for the third segment, so we're going to talk about SEC bowls. I'm going to skip the key matchup thing. We'll get on that on Sunday, but we're going to talk about some SEC bowl games coming up, including one here in just a few minutes. Right now, though, I'm going to tell everybody about FanDuel. FanDuel is so much fun, and what a great time of year to get involved with FanDuel. You will love it. All you have to do is go check it out. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet, because as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers, they just stay scorching hot here at FanDuel. $150 if your team wins. If your team wins, they don't have to cover the spread. They have to just win. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right this very minute. And look, there's so many bowl games on today, and the NFL is going full strength. Cowboys Lions tomorrow. You want to check it out. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including they do have spreads, they do have player props, they do have over-unders. They got much, much more than that too. They got everything you want over at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. And just get your hands into this NFL season. Is so much fun. The college football season, college basketball season, NBA, all these things are going on right now, and you want to be a part of them. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. All right, Jimmy. So, we were going to do some matchups, but, I got it. Right now, whenever we do a segment on Jalen Hurts, it seems like it's extended because
Jalen Milroe.
Him knows no bounds right now.
You said Hurts, but you meant Milroe. But it goes back to our whole point.
It's the same thing.
It's almost like we got a sequel of. It's almost like there was this great blockbuster movie, and we were blessed with a sequel.
Jalen Hurts 2, Electric Boogaloo, the Milroeing. Okay. SEC bowl games coming up. We got one today I know of with Clemson and Kentucky.
Mizzou and Ohio State is tonight.
Oh, that's tonight too. Yeah, boy, am I the only one that forgets Missouri's in the SEC occasionally? Just occasionally?
I've only been here since like what 2012.
I know. They've actually done more, and they've done more than Texas A&M. By the way, they've done more than.
They have, and they've been to the SEC championship game twice, and now a legit top 10 team. And by the way, loaded for next year. And Alabama plays them, and I mean they're going to be a pretty good football team. They've done well in the portal. They bring back Luther Burden, who's going to be the leading preseason Biletnikoff, candidate. So how about Eli Drinkowitz coming into this year, almost certainly fired, leaves it. Probably not only getting an extension this offseason, but making him a very wealthy man.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, I think the quarterback will be back. I mean, like you said, Luther Burden, they get Williams Nawari come from the one of the top 5 players consensusly in the country. I mean, I think they avoid Georgia next year. Now they do have to play us in Tuscaloosa. Okay, let's just say that that's a loss for them. It's not going to be easy for Alabama, by the way. I want to throw that out there. But the rest of the schedule is pretty doggone manageable. And, I was sort of kicking rocks a little bit that I thought Auburn got a pretty easy schedule for the SEC next year. All of a sudden, their game at Kentucky, their game at Missouri, those don't look so deadgum easy anymore.
No, I would think that those are going to be struggle games for Auburn for sure. Missouri, I mean, it shouldn't be lost on anyone. This 12-team playoff isn't in the future. It arrives now. And had we had the 12-team playoff this year, Missouri's in it. I mean, Missouri's in the playoff, this year. And again, they return a lot of the same guys and the quarterback. Also, by the way, almost a Milroe story of his own. Brady Cook was very ineffective to the point that they had to go to the portal. He was extremely unpopular with the fans. He just wasn't a good player in 2022. 2023, completely different. You would swear you were looking at a different kid. Great player this year, and now a solid future NFL prospect.
They also got like a 5-star offensive line transfer from Oklahoma, so they're going to be good. But before we run out of time, let's talk about some of these bowl games, and we're just going to get predictions. You don't need to go into it much, but Kentucky, Clemson. I'm picking Kentucky today. Clemson's a favorite. I just think Mark Stoops put so much emphasis on trying to win these things and boost his program. I'm picking Kentucky today.
I'm going to go Clemson just because I've been wrong about Clemson 48,000 times this year. So why stop now, Clemson?
Missouri, Ohio State. Again, I'm going Missouri. I mean, y'all say what you want. This is so much more important for Missouri than it is Ohio State. And Missouri could get to that 11th win. Pretty huge.
I think Ohio State's got a better roster and a better team, but here's why I'm picking Missouri, just because it's fun to say, because I never would have imagined it. I'm picking Missouri because they have the better quarterback.
Well, we don't even know who Ohio State's is. I guess
is it Devin Brown? Is Devin Brown going to play quarterback? Yeah. But I'm still sticking. Brady Cook's a better player.
I agree with you. Tomorrow, Ole Miss and Penn State. Now, I think this would be Ole Miss's first shot to ever win 11 games. Is that right?
I think that might be true. I just know that who would have thought this would be? I think it's the most compelling bowl game that's not in the playoff because both of these schools are playing for a lot. These are 2 playoff teams. Had there been a playoff, they both would have been in it. And Penn State hasn't beaten many good teams. James Franklin hasn't beaten many good teams at Penn State. He's beaten a lot of good teams. He hasn't beaten a lot of top 10 teams. Franklin needs this win. And Ole Miss, they announced themselves as a national elite program with a win. So there's a lot on the line here. Anyone that calls that game meaningless doesn't know enough about what's going on in college football right now. That game is very meaningful to both of those teams. They both need to win that game.
Yeah, if I could watch just one bowl game that was not a playoff game, that would be it.
Yep.
Auburn,
you're going to see a lot of hard hitting. They both want to win this game. That will not be an exhibition. Those are 2 good top 10 teams that badly want to win the game.
Auburn, Maryland. I just don't see a path to victory for Maryland when Talia's out. I mean, if Talia were playing, I would think they have a shot. With no Talia, no shot.
Auburn feels like their close loss to Alabama and signing day. Now it feels like Auburn has momentum here.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
I like Auburn somehow. They have some momentum.
Georgia and Florida State, and Florida, I think the O, the I, and the D from Florida State have all transferred or opted out. So there's not much left of the Seminoles. But, yeah, I think Georgia wins this by a gazillion points. I mean, I just think they road stomp them.
The record for college football blowout is 222-0. Georgia Tech over Cumberland, 222-0. I'm hoping it falls.
Well, listen, let's save the January 1 games because we're going to do a podcast on Sunday, New Year's Eve day. So let's save those. And, of course, Alabama will be involved in that. And so, yeah, everybody get ready. It's going to be a great weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. Even that Lions-Cowboys game Saturday night is going to be fun. So at Alabama, Liberty, and basketball, I'm going to be there. Look for me. Say hi to me. I'd love to talk to you. Until then, everybody, roll tide.
Roll Tide.